Okay, you've been in Swaziland long enough. Did you ever consider Swazi citizenship?
Oh yeah. Yes and no. So I think my parents wanted to do it at some point, but at the time the rule was that you cannot be a dual citizen of Swaziland, which means because like we're only less than a million people in Swaziland, right? So if everybody's like taking other citizens,
Yeah, most people would take South Africa. A lot of people travel back and forth.
and are like half South African, half Swazi. But so yeah, so if we were to get Swazi citizenship, we'd have to like give up our Ghanaian citizenship. My parents were like, no, we are not going to do that. But I think we applied for it, and I don't know where that application has gone. It's been like 7 years. And I honestly now wish that I had both
Swazi
and Ghanaian, because
visa,
like I still need a visa to go through South Africa, and you need to go through South Africa to come to Swaziland, and like just coming back this holiday was drama. I got
and with COVID right now you need to come through Mozambique, which is just another. I think that's the same thing with us. We had to denounce our Zimbabweanness, and that was like sorry, no thank you. It's actually my parents that were actually pushing for it, weirdly enough.
Really?
They were the ones that were like, oh, like we're thinking about this, you guys are adults now, like would you like us to apply for like citizenship? And I was like, okay, walk me through it. Does it mean we can have both Zimbabwe and Swazi? And they were like, no, it means we'll be Swazi now. And I was like, I was like, surprisingly, my middle brother, he was okay with it.
So he's Swazi?
Yeah, no, he is. I mean, no, he was okay with denouncing the Zimbabwean like passport thing, because he was legit like, what part of me is Zimbabwean? And I was like, wait, and I was, to this day, I don't think I've processed that conversation enough with him, because he doesn't listen to Zimbabwean music at all.
So he identifies as Swazi?
No, he identifies with wherever he is.
So he'll be like, he's American?
I don't know what Anderson does with his life. He's not Zimbabwean, he's not Swazi, he's just African. But I also don't like that whole like Africa is a country thing.
So if it's like, oh, Ernest, where you from? I'm from Africa. Is that what he says?
No, he's from Zimbabwe. But as in like, even if it's, I guess even if he had the Swazi passport, he would still say he's from Zimbabwe, even though his passport would say he's Swazi. I don't know if that makes sense. But he was legit like well, what am I holding on to Zim for? Does it change my Zimbabweanness because I don't have the Zimbabwean passport? So which brings a really good question too. Like, are you from where your passport is?
Okay, here's cool. Cool. But like, here's an there are a lot of Ghanaians in Swaziland who have denounced their Ghanaian citizenship to have Swazi citizenship, because it makes things easier, yes. But now when you go to Ghana, now you have to apply for a visa to go to Ghana. And I've heard a lot of stories of people who got rejected. With the visa. That's your country. And I don't know if it's because it could be like, why would you get rejected for a Ghanaian visa? Like, especially if you're from an African like Swaziland, like what is it? I don't know. Like you wouldn't really. It's not really common, but I feel like it's the fact that it's a Ghanaian name with a certain citizenship applying for a visa, and so probably the person who's dealing with it is like, stay in your Swaziland. You don't want to be Ghanaian. And so I've seen a lot of people who are just unable. Like some people's family, like their weddings or there's a death in the family, and they can't go back to Ghana because they need a visa and they're not getting the visa. So, that's unfortunate, you know?
Because, I mean, if most of your family's still in that place where you're from and then you now can't go back, then is your home really here?
Yeah, it's just, you need to weigh your options. And, like, with me, this doesn't apply. But, for example, like, getting a US visa, like, I get a certain amount of years.
Yes, same.
But there are other countries, like, I guess Uganda and others, that get, like, 1 year or 2 years. And now you have to come back home every year to renew it, which is money, you know, flight tickets. Whereas they could, instead of doing that, they'll just use their Swazi citizenship, which you'll get, like, 4 years for your whole schooling. And you don't have to come back, right? So if I was in that situation where Ghana was, like, 1 year, I'll probably be like, you know what?
Let me just.
Yeah, you know,
Zimbabwe is 2 years, so I got 2 years. So I'm actually have to renew mine now, but it's like,
so
it's such an inconvenience.
Yeah.
It is honestly an inconvenience, but like she said, Uganda it's like 1 year, I think Tanzania too is only 1 year.
Yeah.
So it's which is very
some people are like 9 months.
9 months.
So after your academic year finishes, you need to be out of the country.
Like back to like Swaziland. Do you ever feel bad for not knowing Siswati? Like we discussed not knowing our home languages and like not being as fluent and whatnot. But what about like the actual?
Yes and no. So here's a funny story. Funny. Not really funny, it's kind of stupid. But when I was younger, okay, so there's xenophobia in South Africa. There's xenophobia in Swaziland. That's a well-known fact. Even though some people want to argue with me, there's xenophobia in Swaziland.
Argue with your ancestors. That's what she just said.
There's xenophobia in Swaziland. And so, like, primary school, I wouldn't even just say me. Generally, in primary school, if you're not Swazi, you will experience bullying based on the fact that you're not Swazi, right? People will insult you, people will say all sorts of things, go back to your country, what. Little kids saying these things. And so me, when I was in grade 1, my thought process was like, oh, you don't like me because I'm Ghanaian, you don't like me because of this, you know what, keep your Swaziness, keep your language, I don't want to learn any of it, which was really dumb, because that would have been a good idea to learn the language and be aware when they're making, you know, when they're talking about me, when they're doing things. But my thought process as a 7-year-old child was like, I don't want you anyways, you know, you don't like me, I don't want you, and I don't want anything about you, I don't want to learn your language, I don't want to learn anything. So that was my thought process, which was not smart. But so like coming back home now, like I do understand Siswati, like I do, I get by, you know. I cannot hold a conversation in it, I cannot speak it, I can, you know, say the greetings, the little things. So like sometimes I'm like, if I could speak it, I could probably just get by, you know, because like, you know, there's this thing of like when they can see you're not from here, then they'll start their like things, they'll just like start like bothering you and stuff. So like when I go into a shop, I'll be like, I'll start off with Swati, right? Because that's as far as I can get, right? So I'll be like, oh, hi, how are you? Can I please have this? Then they continue and they like, and they go off, you know, like, in the language. I'm like, sorry. Yes, see, I cannot, you know, please, English. And so, and at that point, a lot of the time you'll feel like there's like a little bit of attitude coming. You know, there's this like attitude they have towards African foreigners. Let me say that, because they don't act like that with white people. They don't, which is so conversation for another day. But like the hostility that we non-Swazi, non-South African Africans get is not the hostility that white people will get, right? So sometimes I'm like, if I could just speak Siswati, I'll just get by. Like maybe they'll see that I'm not from here, maybe they won't, but like I'll get by, I'll speak Siswati, no questions asked, they're not gonna like start acting a certain way towards me. So sometimes I'm like that, but then now that I'm here and like also I think my parents will be leaving this country in the near future, I'm like, you know what,
it's fine,
be rude to me, I'm going back to my school in how many weeks, I'm not gonna see you when I come back. Maybe I'll come back to Swaziland, maybe I won't, you know. Maybe my parents will be in Ghana by then, so it's like now I don't really care, it's just like whatever. But yeah, what about you? Can you speak Siswati?
I understand it more than I speak it, for sure. But I definitely have felt genuinely bad, especially when you go out like of Swaziland, and you know, like when we went to the US, I'm like, oh, I've lived in Swaziland for like 10-11 years, and they're like, oh, like what, can you speak their language? And I'm like, oh no, I can't.
I'll say,
and then and then people look at you like, how 10 plus years in that country and you still don't know their language. It's like you've somehow disrespected them,
which is that is such a complicated thing.
It is,
because I hear, like, being in America, you know, like there are a lot of people who go to other countries and I don't know, I hear a lot of conversations about, oh, Americans can be so full of themselves because they go to another country and they don't even bother to learn their language. And it's like, okay, that's one argument, but like I don't know what their context is. I know what my context is, I know what like our context is, and it's like what I just explained, right? It might sound stupid, you know, we make stupid decisions, but it's just the way. There are a lot of foreigners in Swaziland who cannot speak Siswati to save their lives, who have been here. My parents have been here for 30 years. and whoops. But it's a thing, and I don't know. I don't know. Have I disrespected the country by not learning the language? I don't know. It's my experience. It's the way I grew up. The way there's so much hostility towards me as a person because I'm not Swazi. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh my gosh, I love you. I want to be part of you. Like, I'm gonna assimilate myself to you. Like, some people do that. Granted, some people do that. I am not one of those people that were like, I'm gonna force myself and regress my Ghanaianness or whatever in order to fit in. So it's complex. I think it's a complex conversation.
One thing I read today was like, if not all of us are gifted to learn languages. So someone was like, yes, there are people that go to a new country, they learn the language in like a year and they're fluent. But like that is actually a gift that some people have, to be able to learn languages in a certain space of time. You know, so they were like, you shouldn't like feel bad about not being able to like learn that language, because learning a new language is hard, guys. It is so difficult. And like whenever I see like Swazi people then say, oh, but you've been here for long enough, I always like, you know, want to challenge them a bit and be like, if you had gone to Zimbabwe, would you have learned?
There's actually a Swazi community in Ghana. They don't speak Tree, so it's like, you know,
it's easy to say when you're on this side of things, but when you go to like the other side of like, if you were to go out to another country yourself, would you have learned their language?
Also another thing is like, the schools I went to, you got in trouble for speaking the language. Right? And I was a good kid. So I didn't want none of that. No, I don't want to be them calling my parents because I'm speaking vernacular, which that's a problem on its own. That's a very colonial mindset. But like me as a kid, like I'm not allowed to do this. I'm not going to do it, right? So, and also another thing is like, most of my friends are immigrants. They're foreigners. So we speak English with each other because like somebody from India, somebody from Ghana, Nigeria, like we don't have a common language apart from English. So you kind of have to look into different
like
contexts.
The context.
It's a complicated.
Because I've also been going to international schools my entire life, even when I was in Zim. So like sometimes when I'm like challenged for the whole Shona speaking thing, like I only ended up speaking it at home with my cousins, because at school we would have to speak English. And then we moved to Swaziland. I started speaking English because we were going to an English school. So some of these things, it's like, yes, I know they're foreigners in Swaziland. Like I know like 2 Zimbabwean girls, they speak Siswati so fluently. They've only been here for like maybe 8 years, and they know it, like you can even mistake them for Swazi, you know. So but they've been going to like Swazi specific schools. So they were like literally thrown in the deep end and had to learn Siswati to, you know, to survive.
Whereas us, it wasn't like
it
that.
Wasn't like
you get in trouble for speaking it. And with like our primary school, like you came to Sikundani, like even though you came late, like there's always like, there were a lot of children from different countries. It wasn't an international school, but there were a lot of us from different countries.
So English ended up being like the base.
Language. So
I mean, I wish I could speak Siswati, to be fair.
Now I do.
Like I do. Like I'm in an internship now, and I'm literally like, they only have 2 foreigners in the whole company, and it's just me and this other guy from Zambia, but he's been in the company for long enough that he now speaks Siswati. So it's just me, and I can see how much it's such an inconvenience to them to have to speak to me in English. And every time I feel so bad, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, and they always, because the boss is a white South African, and he's the one that they have to speak English to. So one lady was actually joking. She's like, now I have to train to speak to this one in English too, because I always have to like, you know, ready myself when I'm going to the boss to speak English. Now you too. So it ends up looking like I'm trying to be posh,
or like you're trying
and I'm also coming from an American college, so it's now like, this
girl thinks she's all that. She just wants to speak English.
Which actually makes life difficult, because even like from just our cultures, there's that thing of respecting your elders, right? So now when you're now speaking English and you're trying to like talk to them, and now they have to talk down to you in the language that you understand, it's like, why are they going an extra mile for you? Yet you're supposed to have been the one, you know, being the younger one and whatnot. So that's, you know, this is just like things that have made dynamics of living here and like trying to work here weird. And also Swaziland right now is going through like nationalizing their country. So
foreigners been doing that.
So foreigners are being like pushed out slowly. So that's also now making it more difficult to like not be able to speak Siswati as a foreigner. Like it's actually an advantage to you because some even job posts they say like Siswati required, you know. So do you when you are in Ghana, do you ever feel out of place?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yes. I think not as much now because I think there's just like in the last few years there's been a lot of diasporans moving back to Ghana. So like it's not a huge deal if you can't speak Tree. It's not a huge deal if like I'm different. Like they understand. I think there's a lot more understanding now because of like there's so many even African Americans. There are lots of African Americans and Caribbeans moving to live in Ghana. Okay. So they're just like it's normal. Like it's only maybe if I go to like certain areas like I don't know, not really. I don't think there's like
okay, because that's sometimes what they discuss with being third cultural kids. It's like you're too foreign for here, you're too foreign for home.
Yeah.
So you actually never have a place where you like belong.
Yeah. It's there. And I think I don't know, I feel like if I were to move back to Ghana now, like I would struggle. And I think what I would resort to is just hang out with people like me. Hang out with people who didn't grow up in Ghana. Like it'll be easier. It's not like people will be like horrible to me or anything. It's just like there'll be a lot of things that I just like it's like we're not fitting. There's these little things that you don't see and you don't understand. Like I remember when I first started like hanging out with people my age in Ghana, there were like little things like norms that are people know it, I just don't. Like for example, like you know when you go out in Southern, like in in WK, like when we go out, you go out in sneakers, you know, you go out, you go as you are, right? Like you look a little nice. Yeah. I tried that in Ghana. I wore like a nice top, something like the I don't know, something like this. I wore some jeans and I wore flats. They said you're not entering like this. I was like, what do you mean? Like
it
I
was
look
heels
nice.
only?
Yeah, in Ghana, if you're going out, women heels only. Guys shirts, sneakers. You know you need to look nice, that kind of thing. Okay. And so even when I went out, there was like I went out with my cousin and like I went out with my cousin and like his group of friends. They're like making comments about me, and I was like, I think I look nice. Like, what's going on? But they were like making these little comments and you know stuff like that. There's a whole, like maybe that's not even a good example, but like there are these. It's hard. You need to be able to switch. Yeah. Like
now I'm in Ghana. Okay, so I need
you
to
need
do
to
this,
behave like this. You need to speak like this. You need to act like this. When I'm in Swazi, you need to do this. You need to do that. So I feel like also being a third culture kid, you need to be very aware of these
where
differences.
You are.
Otherwise, you'll just keep making these blunders. Like you'll just be making socially damaging things. You need to be very aware of what things. Which is it's interesting. I wrote a whole anthropology paper about it. Hit me up.
Educated queens you got here.
But yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. No, for Zim, I think Zim is such a different setting altogether, more than just looking at socially, like looking at economically as well. It's like there's so much, like even my parents say this, they were like, if we're ever to move back to Zim, we would not make it.
As in?
Because just the way that things are not easy to get when you're in Zim, it's just like so like we don't we don't have our own currency, like where it's like, oh, we have our like Zim dollar that we use. They're like so many.
Don't you have Zim dollars?
From way back when, but now you have to maneuver eco cash. You have to maneuver eco cash. There's like I guess mobile money. There is bonds and the like process of how people survive in Zim that we're just not used to by living out of Zim for so long, that literally every time we go to Zim for like 2-3 weeks, by the time we come back everyone is drained because it's just like we're not used to this, you know. But the people who live in Zim, they go about life like it's just, you know, it's sad, but like they go about life like it's a normal thing, having to like maneuver all of these like basic things, like, okay, I need to go to the grocery store. Okay, I can't pay with a card in this certain store. I can only use bonds in this certain store. I can only use US dollars in this certain store. It's like so many little things that you have to keep in mind that you just we're not aware of. So now it's like, oh, whenever you go, people can see that you're lost
because you're like
I took out the wrong money for the wrong store, and people are like, how? But
didn't you know?
You're speaking Shona, aren't you from here? Shouldn't you know that this is how it works? And you're like, but I don't, you know, because I haven't been here. So like little things like that, like just maneuvering life. Like there's so many things that we've normalized, like in Swaziland. Like I drove myself here. You know, in Zim it's like, okay, you're just driving to your friend's house. On what fuel? Whose? You know, so little things like, oh, I just want to go out to see my friend. It's like, oh, in Zim you have to like think about where you are the resources even there. So it's just like little thing. Not saying that I'm trying to say Zim is bad. Like Zim is my country. Like it's just like
it's different.
Basic things that just make it a different atmosphere, a different lifestyle altogether that you wouldn't be used to. That then makes you a foreigner when you go there.
Oh yeah, very apt.
If you could change anything about being a third cultural kid, what would you like?
My dog is crying. What would I change? This, like, I wish I just had all my loved ones in one place. Yes. That's what I wish, because now, like, it makes me so sad. Like, my parents are here in Swaziland. I have a very good friend in Norway. I have friends in the UK. I have friends in different parts of the US, and it's like,
why can't you all be in one place?
Why can't you all be in one place? And also, just distance can really destroy relationships. So you really need to work hard to maintain things, and also, like you said, romantically. But it's it's a lot. You just wish that's why so you just like long for like a home with all parts of a home, your friends, your family, your memories, things that are familiar to you. That's one thing I wish I had, which I don't. But then again, a benefit of being a third culture, you can travel. Like, okay, so I was just in DC for some months, and I realized that I have cousins there, I have family friends there. Like, I met up with somebody from here. She's half Swazi, half Ghanaian. She grew up here, and she also moved all over the place. And she's like, but anyways, I found her in DC whilst I was in DC, and it's like, this is so nice. And I know if I go to maybe a different country, I'll find somebody that I went to school with, or I'll find a cousin or an uncle or something. So that's like, if you find yourself anywhere in the world, there'll be people for you. So that's one thing. So it's a double-edged sword.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I was thinking of something so basic, but that one is a good one. That one's a really good one. I would have changed having like the affordability to be able to like see everyone often, because I think like having people everywhere, like there's so much you have to consider. Like, okay, like, you know, people are in Zim, I now have a cousin in Germany, another cousin in Malaysia, and it's like everyone is literally going further away from each other constantly. So like, similar to your answer, I guess just that, to never have to think twice to be like, oh, I want to go see my cousin in Germany, just be like, first flight out, first class, I'm there. You know, but those things. Because it's like the whole thing about where is home. If you were to now be in another country and you're like, okay, I want to plan my wedding. You have your wedding
That's
there.
One thing I was thinking
and then
about.
You're like, I need to have a wedding back home. But where?
You know, this sounds stupid. Maybe it's not stupid. But before I left Swaziland, I was like, oh, when it's time to get married, I'm going to have a wedding ceremony in Swaziland. Wedding ceremony in Ghana. And wherever I'm at the time. Yeah. But
no.
Swaziland, my parents should not still be in Swaziland by the time. So no, I will invite whoever is still in Swaziland. I'll invite them. If you can't afford, I'm sorry, you cannot afford to attend my wedding. Elite. Not even. But you see, that's something
to think about. Like when you're wanting to start a life. But I mean, now you know, Corona has made all of us digitally together, and it's not the same. But like, now we can just have a wedding wherever we are on Zoom, guys. Have a Zoom party after party, you know?
So how are you gonna zanku on the Zoom? If I zanku right now, is anybody gonna see my leg work? No. You need to, you know, best when everybody can see.
Dear future husband for Madam Alice, not that she shall what? Zanku?
Zanku for your love.
For your love. So yeah, that's just something. Like, where would I ever consider having my wedding here? It's like, will I? Or everyone is just, it will be in Zim.
Everybody start saving. How old are we turning to? In the next 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years, who knows? Just start saving to be attending these engagements, birthings, whatever. Start saving. Third culture kids, start saving.
You need to. Because when you have to think about all. But our final question: how do you think living in the diaspora and like being a third cultural kid has affected your relationships?
Good. So just kind of what we discussed, like you lose, like I feel like I've met a lot of good people, a lot of great people in my life, and the only reason we are not in each other's lives is because distance. Like it's hard to maintain a friendship, a relationship, anything with anybody if you're not together. So like I can think of a lot of friends that I feel like we were good friends, but like
then we moved away.
We're not in the same place anymore. It's like I guess they're not good communicators over the phone or something. So it just
But don't you think you were just friends because we were in the same space?
I don't. I have a lot of people I'm like, okay, yeah, we're probably just hanging out because of the circumstances. But no, I think there are a lot of people who legitimately are not good with communication and stuff. There's a few friends, like I'm that type of person that like even at least every 6 months, like let's reach out, let's connect, let's find out, because like I have like Maya, if you're listening to this, you're one of those people. But like we don't talk every day, but like when we do talk, it's like what happened in that time that we did not talk.
And then you talk for like a good 3-6
hours. Like she knows, like after those hours, she knows exactly what happened in my life in the last year or 2 years, even though we haven't seen each other. And it's like
it's a good
that
time.
Is how you can maintain a friendship, you know, even though you are not like every day. What are you doing? Are you eating? Like that kind of thing. So just if you're not that type of person, which she wasn't, but I was like,
you forced her
girl,
to be. Which is part of adulting as well. Like a lot of people crave these like everyday friends, but like we all have our own lives to deal with, guys. Like I can't be checking in on you every day, every week. Like I'm that type of person. I'm okay with us having a 3-hour call every 3 months or 6 months, and things are good. Like at the like what she's saying at the end, you know what's happening with me, I know what's happening with you, and we're good. You know, this whole thing of like, because I'm a bad texter, and like you have to call me for us to catch up. This texting business I find it unnecessary. So it's like that doesn't.
There's a word for it. Oh my god, sorry. I'll come back to it. I'm sorry. Recreational texting. Yes. Okay. Recreational texting. Just texting just for texting. Like, oh, what are you doing? What are you up to?
I don't
like that. That's a waste
of
time.
It is. Like, I'm not always on my phone. I have other things to be doing. But if you say, yo, I want us to have a call this time, or even just randomly call me and we talk for like an hour to 3 hours, then cool. Like, you maintain your relationships and your friendships in that way. This whole thing of saying, oh, because since you took 2 weeks to reply to my message, I'm not gonna respond to her. Like, well, who am I to double text her? You know. So I think some of this just has to be some adulting things that you have to adapt to. To be like, to keep connections with people, you need to, be flexible.
Yeah.
Which is something that I think being a third cultural someone has like taught us.
Yeah, so I think that's how like relationships are like it really just messes up, but like you end up having fewer relationships than you would have, and it's not like because you're not life happened and like you were mean to each other or something. It's just distance out, and also you can speak on the romantic side.
Look at that.
But it's a thing.
It is a thing. Like being in a romantic relationship, being a third culture kid, you never know like how long it's gonna last with the person you're with, because what happens if you move or if you go somewhere. So like right now, like it's been something good for like, almost 7 months, but I'm going back to school and it's like, okay, we're about to be long distance. What's gonna happen? Of course, our plan is to like keep things going and, like be actively trying to make things work. But long distance is still long distance. A lot of people don't believe in it. This one is even that person that's there. But I think it just requires commitment from both parties to like make sure that you're staying in touch and all of that stuff. So I mean, that's how being a third cultural someone affects, like, you know,
your romantic relationships, your friendly relationships. Yeah. But me, that is why you just need to focus on your books and your Bible. Because all of this is stress. Unnecessary stress that you don't need. Just face your books. face your books, friends. Face your Bible. If you need a man, look to Jesus.
No further comments. Anyways, guys, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for being such a great addition to the Just Shaz program. We shall be having more sit downs like this. It's been actually eye opening. Like, there are things I didn't know about your end that I'm like, oh, okay. So this has been nice. Yeah.
So reach out, let us know, let's have a discussion.
What you think. So yeah, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe if you haven't.
Do the thing, the notification.
The notification bell. Look at her being knowledgeable on YouTube.
Follow her.
Thank you.
She's doing some good stuff.
Doing some things. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace and love. Catch you in the next video.